The aftermath of UFC 297 brought more than just memorable fight moments. Sean Strickland, a fighter known as much for his brutal honesty as for his skills in the octagon, became the center of controversy once again, but not for his athletic feats. Instead, Strickland was thrust into a whirlwind of attention following a contentious post-fight interview that evolved into a heated debate. At its core, this conflict with a Canadian journalist highlighted issues of free speech, political correctness, and the responsibilities of public figures in the age of social media. Strickland's post-fight interview was expected to be the usual rundown: discussions about his tactics, the challenges he faced, and his victory. But the tone shifted abruptly when the journalist, with a clear liberal perspective, began to probe Strickland on his views about LGBT+ rights. It was a jarring shift from the adrenaline-charged atmosphere of sports to a sensitive topic loaded with societal implications, and it caught everyone off guard. You could feel the tension in the room rise. Strickland, still riding the high of his victory, found himself suddenly thrown into a politically charged discussion. True to his nature, he responded with the same raw and unfiltered honesty that has made him both a fan favorite and a controversial figure. His blunt remarks quickly drew backlash, with every word dissected and debated online. A particular statement from Strickland caused a major uproar. "You are the definition of weakness. Everything that is wrong with the world is because of you." Aimed directly at the journalist, this comment ignited a firestorm. Supporters hailed Strickland for speaking his truth, while detractors condemned him for being insensitive, even suggesting that his words bordered on hate speech. The journalist, visibly shaken, wasted no time taking to Twitter to denounce Strickland's remarks. He claimed the statements were not only offensive, but also perpetuated harm against the LGBT+ community. What began as a tense exchange in a post-fight interview soon turned into a full-blown digital spectacle. The journalist didn't stop at expressing outrage. He actively campaigned for Strickland to face severe consequences, including suspension from the UFC. In the world of professional sports, suspension isn't just a slap on the wrist. It's a significant blow that can derail an athlete's career. Calling for such a measure only added fuel to the fire, as fans, critics, and even casual observers jumped into the debate with fervent opinions. Strickland, ever the fighter, refused to back down. He took to his own social media channels to defend himself, accusing the journalist of attempting to stifle his right to free speech. Strickland made it clear that while he was willing to answer difficult questions, he would not be muzzled for holding opinions that differed from mainstream narratives. What had started as a personal spat had now morphed into a larger discussion about freedom of expression and the boundaries that come with it in today's hyper-connected world. For fans and critics alike, a pressing question emerged. Where do we draw the line when it comes to what athletes can and cannot say in public? Strickland's supporters rallied behind him, flooding social platforms with messages of solidarity. They insisted that his statements reflected his personal beliefs, not an intent to promote hate, and accused the journalist of overreacting. To these fans, Strickland represented a rare breed of celebrity, one unafraid to voice unpopular opinions in a society increasingly dominated by political correctness. During the interview, one exchange particularly underscored the clash between Strickland and the journalist. The reporter referenced a past tweet from Strickland concerning the gay community and asked for clarification. Strickland cut in, offering his characteristic bluntness. It wasn't just a conversation anymore. It had turned into a confrontation, with both parties unwilling to back down. The exchange highlighted a deep divide. Strickland's unfiltered approach clashing head-on with the journalist's progressive worldview. Strickland's responses were harsh and unapologetic. He accused the journalist of contributing to a culture of weakness and criticized him for pushing a social agenda. This was no longer just about LGBT+ rights. It had escalated into a battle over whether public figures should be free to express controversial views without facing career-altering consequences. The clash exposed a cultural fault line, with Strickland representing a growing sentiment among those frustrated with what they see as restrictions on free speech. The UFC, a brand that has thrived on controversy but also has to maintain a polished image for sponsors, found itself in a complicated situation. Dana White, the organization's president known for his own unfiltered style, was questioned about the incident. White reaffirmed his stance on valuing free speech, but acknowledged the fine line between expressing opinions and causing harm. The organization's challenge became balancing its fighters' freedom of expression with the public backlash that can harm its reputation. The issue of athletes being thrust into social debates isn't new. Figures like LeBron James have embraced activism, using their platforms to champion various causes. But athletes like Strickland resist being turned into social advocates, preferring to stick to their sport. This raises a broader question. Should athletes be expected to engage in societal issues, or should they be allowed to focus solely on their careers? Social media added another layer of complexity. Strickland's supporters claimed that his words were being sensationalized for clicks, accusing the media of creating controversy rather than reporting facts. Critics countered that language like Strickland's could have harmful real-world effects, especially on marginalized communities. The digital arena became a battleground, with both sides using the incident to highlight their broader ideological beliefs. Interestingly, the controversy seemed to strengthen Strickland's fan base. In an era where many public figures are carefully managed by PR teams, his raw, unpolished demeanor attracted those who longed for authenticity. Strickland doesn't try to sanitize his image. He speaks his mind and deals with the consequences later. It's a polarizing approach, but for many, that's part of the appeal. Yet the larger question looms. Should athletes be held to a higher standard when it comes to their views on social issues? The Strickland journalist incident reflects the ongoing culture wars, where the right to free speech often clashes with demands for inclusivity and sensitivity. Strickland's supporters argue that it's unrealistic to expect athletes to be polished spokespeople, while his critics insist that words have weight and must be chosen carefully. The impact of this clash is still unfolding. While Strickland's career appears secure for now, his reputation as a divisive figure has been solidified. Being a fearless fighter in the ring is one thing, but navigating the complexities of public discourse is another challenge entirely. The incident has added layers to his public persona, making him a focal point in discussions about the role of athletes in cultural and social debates. In today's world, where sports and social issues often overlap, the Strickland journalist confrontation raises essential questions. Should athletes like Strickland face penalties for voicing opinions that conflict with mainstream media narratives? Is there a limit to what public figures can say, especially when their platforms are so large? And finally, does the media always present these stories fairly, or is there an underlying bias? We want to know what you think about this polarizing topic. Did Strickland go too far, or do you believe in his right to speak freely? Share your opinions in the comments. And if you found this deep dive engaging, give us a like and subscribe to Capital Informant. Stay tuned for more coverage on the hottest stories and controversies making waves today.